All right. If you're trying to be a Spanish interpreter or any type of interpreter, here are the 5 ethical behaviors you need to keep in mind next time you interpret, okay? Okay, and don't forget to hit the like and follow button for more tips and tricks for interpreters, either in Spanish interpreting or any type of interpreting. The first one is confidentiality. You got to make sure that everything maintains confidential between the patient, the doctor, if it's the judge, the lawyer, no matter who it is, you cannot be disclosing any information to anyone else. Okay, and the second one is making sure that we completely and accurately render the original message from the one language to the opposite language or the other language that you're supposed to interpret. So you cannot omit, you cannot add on, you cannot summarize, and you cannot condense the message. You gotta also self-monitor yourself. So if you know that you're losing the mood, the tone, the original message, you gotta make sure that you completely render it or you clear it up. So say you messed up, you clear it up right there and then with the patient or the person that you're interpreting for. Because you don't want to give them a half-assed interpretation and then later on there's going to be some kind of conflict like, hey, wait a minute, you didn't mention this. Yes, it was mentioned. How come it wasn't mentioned as an interpretation? So you have to literally listen, monitor yourself, and then also if you messed up, you got to clearly right there and then try to clean up your act. You cannot just leave it for later and be like, oh, you know what? I forgot to tell you this too. Like, no, right away, try to fix it. Or else, guess what? If you leave it for later, you're going to forget. So try to not do that. Try to always do it right there and then. Also, maintaining impartiality. So if you feel like there's some kind of bias or beliefs that you have, or if someone personal or close friend of yours is the one that you have to interpret for, you gotta know that you have to have moral fortitude and withdraw yourself from the appointment. You gotta let either the provider know or just keep it transparent with everybody. This will save you from getting into any trouble for a conflict of interest or anything that can sabotage the communication between the patient and the doctors or the lawyers and the defendants or whoever needs the interpretation. That brings me to refrain from giving your opinions, beliefs, biases, experiences, whatever. You cannot be disclosing none of this information to the patient, doctor, none of that. You are only here to facilitate the communication between the provider and the patient, and that's about it. If the patient asks you, can you give me your advice? What would you do? You don't. You just let he or she know, you know what, I'm just here to help you communicate. That's it. Just say, I'm sorry, I'm just here to help you communicate. That's it. And then also interpret that question, because the provider is going to probably answer that for her. So it's better that you interpret, keep yourself the most transparent you can, and don't let them influence you from going on with that conversation. And then also don't ask any probing questions. You're not there to get any information from the patient. This is not your appointment. This is their thing. So all you got to do is just interpret. Don't give them your information. Don't try to have any relationships outside the job with these patients. Don't try to have a personal relationship with them. No, you're only there to do your job and get out. And lastly, just respecting the patient's privacy. They are going through the worst sometimes, the worst that they've ever probably been. And obviously you're a stranger to them. You walk in and if they have to disclose or if they have to open up, and they have to show some part of their body, you have to give them their space. You have to make them feel comfortable. So you look away, try to look somewhere else, maybe a point in the wall, and just interpret, because all you're doing is letting them hear you out, and that's it. You are not there to look at them in the face. You are there to interpret. So if they drop down their pants because they have to show the doctor something downstairs, you just look away. Don't try to run away from the room and feel like it, because that's your job. You're there through the most sensitive, the most most uncomfortable position that the patient might be in, and you got to make it the easiest possible for everyone. So you just look away, start interpreting, nodding your head, making sure that they see that they have to see you. You don't have to see them. They have to see you, and they can just listen to you while you interpret. And then once they're done, and that they're already fully clothed, you can turn back again and keep talking to them normal, because they want to know that you're there as also, and you feel compassionate about what's going on. You don't feel like, oh, you took off your clothes, like, oh, you're fat. No, no, you're right there. We're there to just be the most transparent. Like if I'm not even there in the room, just say what you need to say. So there you have it, those 5. Confidentiality, making sure you convey the message accurately. Impartiality, making sure that you respect the patient's privacy, and then also refrain from giving any opinions, any advice. Okay, you guys are just there to interpret. You are transparent, and make this easy as possible for you, for the patient, for the provider, for everyone. If you need more tips, I'm your girl. As a Spanish interpreter that's coming up in the Bay Area, don't worry, I'm your girl. We're all going through this. Don't think you're alone on this. Trust me, I've been through it, and if you need it, I got it.